This is Justin Arnett Graham.
And this is Nariba Shepherd.
And this is
It's Terms of Service. I like it.
It just feels, especially since we've been doing this morning thing.
Yeah.
It feels, yes, snaps all the way around.
I'm
That's
a little
right.
starstruck right now.
Oh, no. Hi,
I witnessed it.
Yes. Hi.
People are here every time, but sometimes we need to like take multiple cuts, and then they're like less.
Yeah, I'm just like, cut it.
starstruck.
Oh, and by the way, we have another guest.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so excited to be here.
This is so exciting. We love to hear that.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, please.
I will introduce myself. My name is Laura Louise Green.
That's right.
That is my name. And I am an avid listener of your podcast. And so it's really cool to me to be here because when I'm listening to your podcast driving around or doing my dishes or snuggling with my animals.
That's the mood.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the conversation, and now I am in the conversation. So it's a little like, oh my God.
Would some say that that's quite existential?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I do appreciate you also being a fan of Terms of Service because then that means that you're tolerating the tone of my voice. And I really, I respect you so much for that. Because
We've come a long way, though, because you used to, hate even listening to yourself when we recorded.
Yeah, but I've grown. Mm-hmm. And
Growth.
I'm still, you know what they call that? Growth. So, yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. And I just want to do, a quick, vibe check.
Yeah.
Laura, how are you? How are you feeling?
Same.
Happy Sunday morning.
Yeah. My last day at work is Wednesday.
Oh.
So it's
changes are afoot?
changes are afoot.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of moving out of the grief phase into the possibilities area.
Oh,
And there's
moving
love
into
to
the
see it.
possibilities phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
okay.
and I'm trying to savor each moment and not force
That's
myself into the next phase.
real.
Feel this.
Of course.
So that's my vibe check. That's where I am.
Awesome.
right.
Amazing. Nariba, how you doing?
I thought I was going to have to burp for a second.
Okay.
I am great.
So you're feeling full?
Yes. I have been soups busy
We love that.
the
We
last
love to
couple
see
of
it.
weeks because the most. But it also feels weird because we saw each other on Wednesday.
And why did we see each other on
We
Wednesday?
saw each other on Wednesday because, and we also spoke with Ms. Green
Yeah.
on Wednesday as well for the James Beard Foundation and not 9 to 5 collaboration.
Yes.
Talking about mental health and substance use in the food service industry.
Yes.
Hassel, shouts to you.
Oh,
Shouts
God. I know.
all the way out.
Oh my gosh, she's a big fan of this podcast too. So she's gonna listen to this. Girl, I love you.
We love us out. Yes, and we just love this full circle moment that is, it's not just a moment, it's a thing. It's a vibe.
Listen, brought to you by Terms of Service. We brought this, so that's why it's by us. But
By us, for us.
yes,
With us. But for all of y'all.
for sure.
So yeah.
And then yesterday I had a Snack It drop. So, I was
that.
out in the world delivering food to people and such.
Yes,
and then
yes.
I was like, I'm in the world delivering food to people and such. So, we're here today. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to talk about more mental health.
Love that.
Putting my degree to use finally. Let's do it.
Perfect. Well, I'm doing just fine.
I was about to be like, we're going to ask about
Thank
Max
you.
before we come back to
Yes.
you.
Well, I mean, I'm making my way around the group. So
That's
yes,
fair.
Again, I am doing just fine. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
Yes.
Morning.
Hi, Max.
Howdy, how you doing?
How you feeling?
Oh, I'm getting better.
Getting better?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm figuring out all my tummy stuff.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Wow.
But I was outside in the sun with friends last night, or yesterday, and then last night.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
in public having fun with other humans in public.
Oh, wow.
Was it weird?
It's getting less weird,
Nice.
but
That's nice.
it was beautiful. It was real nice. It was a
I'm
nice day in
getting-
the sun.
I'm getting ascension vibes.
That's
Yeah,
how
you're
I-
ascending. You're ascending. Yeah, that's where I'm coming
Ascending.
from. Yes.
Let's
yes.
hope.
Yeah, as opposed to descending. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're up. But not away, but just
Aw.
up.
No, closer.
Yeah,
What's up?
of course.
Also, I'm going into my 9th year of living in Chicago in like 2 days. And yesterday,
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And yesterday
Yes.
was the first time I went for a walk ever in Humboldt Park. And I
Oh.
felt fucking fancy. I was also afraid. I got scared by the swan boats because we like came around that little like troll bridge and they were all just there. And I was like, oh my God. And my partner laughed at me in the face. So.
Yeah, I'm chuckling on the inside.
I freaked out, y'all.
troll bridge.
You know, there's like.
Yes, no, I know
Yeah.
what bridge it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's that bridge. It is that bridge. For those
No,
of you
it is
that don't
forever.
know,
The troll bridge.
you know the bridge.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
Stop playing.
There's fish in the water there too, so prepare yourself
I mean,
because that could be
There was
scary.
also was an alligator or a crocodile in that water?
Yes! That
Chance the Snapper.
Chance the Snapper.
Oh my
Shouts
God,
to
that
Chance
is
the
his
Snapper.
name.
What a time to be alive.
That was
That was-
such a time to be
that
alive.
was
I have a T-shirt that
summers
says
ago.
Chance the Snapper.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
What color is it?
It's gray. So it's walking the fine line between my monochromatic style of
Yes.
all black. But I am wearing a cream-colored hoodie, so
Right.
snaps to me for doing that. Thank you, everyone.
Sometimes
so-
when I wear like all black, I feel like you, which mostly means like I could do anything.
Oh,
You know, y'all. You made it cute when I was trying to be G.
well,
I'm gonna take a sip of my
feels so good.
golden ale from Athletic Brewing
Okay, I'm
Company.
going to join you.
Upside Dawn.
Yes, upside down.
clever.
I know.
From
It makes me think of Twilight, though.
yes,
110%.
again from Athletic Brewing out in Connecticut. We love you. Thank you so much. So this is how we start every single time.
Okay.
Laura,
Yes.
what's your sign?
Oh, I touched it.
It's okay.
I am a Cancer.
Okay. Well,
What day?
Yeah.
What day is your birthday?
July 10th.
You're acceptable.
Oh,
You're an
shit.
acceptable Cancer.
Yes.
Because the closer Cancers get to Leos, it's like,
My
can't
mom
have
is
all
on the
the-
cusp.
yo, what is she like? She's probably great, but like
She's
also
great.
a lot.
She's
Shout outs to your mom.
God, Mom, this is not a podcast I'm going to send to you.
Yeah.
She's, we've come a long way
we
over
are
the years. Like
palatable
my mom,
across
like,
many generations and many walks of life.
yeah. Well, my mom, she's come a long way in terms of her own healing. So here's my fucking therapist talk coming.
Yes.
But she's come a long way in her own healing, and I think that she's like become more of herself over the years. But she's a force, and I think she's such a force that she didn't know what to do with herself for
Yep.
years. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's
That's
beautiful.
That's like
I think.
a developed cusp. Like when you can work with both sides of the coin, you're like, you're there. I feel like I am slowly becoming a fully developed Aries, but now I know what that looks like because I found out my therapist
Aren't you like a
is
Rihanna
an
type
Aries.
Aries?
Rihanna is an honorary Aries.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm sorry.
That bitch a Pisces.
Oh,
Right? I know, it's shocking. Everyone thinks she's an Aries. She has a lot of
I
Aries
thought you said that she
placements.
was an Aries.
No, I wish a bitch was an Aries, but we got Selena.
okay.
So I'll take her. I
Okay,
love
that's
her.
fair.
Anything for Selena's.
Gosh, I
Yes,
share
absolutely.
a birthday with Jessica Simpson.
We were talking about Jessica Simpson this morning.
Really?
Yes. This morning.
Well, to be fair, it went from Backstreet Boys to NSYNC to 98 Degrees, Jessica Simpson.
Very briefly.
Okay, yeah.
98 degrees. It was extremely brief.
Yeah. We
But,
just used that to get to. But going back to what you were saying, like my mom and Max share the same birthday.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, July
Love that.
1st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and my best friend Ruby. And Missy Elliott.
And Missy Elliott. Can't
I
forget
share
her.
my birthday with Seth Rogen, Emma Watson, and Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones.
That's solid.
Yeah.
I have a
And the
weird, I have a
Titanic stunk on
strange
my
crush on
birthday.
all of those people that you just
Right.
listed.
Okay, everyone except for Emma Watson. And people always think I'm coming for Emma Watson, but I was born 45 minutes before her, and somehow she became Hermione Granger. So, like, I just
okay.
want to catch up to it and destroy it.
Okay. All right.
were
Well,
talking
and then
about
also we
Harry's
were talking about
bias.
Harry Potter this morning too.
Yeah, I'm a Harry Potter, not Lord of the Rings.
Well, I mean, same, because Lord of the Rings is nothing but 12 hours
I will
of
go.
walking.
I will
It's
go on the
exhausting.
record.
It is absolutely
and
Yeah.
exhausting.
tell
And for
people.
those out there that are currently listening that really identify with like the trolls and the like whole Lord of the Rings like walking to a volcano thing, I support you and I really empower you on your plight. But I'm a Hogwarts kid and that's on period. So
You would like the TikToks
Yeah.
about the kids like creating their own dream realities and like going to Hogwarts. Like that's their thing.
I'm just trying to get a broom and kill it at Quidditch.
That's fair.
So that's really, like a firebolt, I'm pretty sure it was called.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
And they have different ones because he like the
Oh, he got the
firebolt
fancy one.
Yeah, because the
Firebolt's the
firebolt
fancy
got
one.
destroyed, and then remember he had to get like a new one after that.
The Firebolt was the new one because the Nimbus.
Nimbus 3000.
Oh, that was the first one.
That was the
Absolutely. And if-
first. Okay.
If, any,
Sirius
if
got him the
anyone,
Firebolt,
if
and then they had to
anyone is
deconstruct it
listening
because- to make
from,
sure that there was no magic.
if
Oh,
anyone's
yes.
listening from Warner Brothers, we love Harry Potter over here. feel free,
I
feel
have
free to
two
hit us
Harry
up.
Potter tattoos.
Hit us up at connect@termsofservice.media, and we would love to figure out some what's that
I feel like
marketing
they
term
don't-
that everyone loves?
Synergy.
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 I don't
We
think
would
they're
love to
gonna
explore
fuck
some
with us.
synergy.
I should talk
It's
Emma
entirely
Watson
fine.
too much.
Well, that's entirely fine. You
It's-
can edit that out.
You know
can
what
edit
it
that
is?
out.
It's one specific moment, and it's that movie when it's the end of the world. The one, do you know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
yes.
When
yes.
Michael Cera gets like totally taken out by a demon or something at the very
Yes.
beginning. It's so
Oh.
ridiculous.
She's
but
in
there's
it.
this, she's in it, and there's
Seth
this one
Rogen.
moment that she has an axe, and everything's gone to shit. And she
Is that the
comes
movie
in-
called The End of the World?
Is
Yeah.
it?
I think
Yeah.
it's the end of the fucking world or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
With all the bros.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That one.
but she busts through this door with an axe, and I was like, "Oh, my sexuality!" Like,
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
But it's
we
that
love
one
that.
moment.
I feel like I had a similar moment with, and we're gonna go ahead and rein this in a quick moment,
Yeah.
but really quickly. The perks of being a wallflower.
Okay, so
Okay, so that like, stop it all
Yeah.
day, and I'm just gonna leave it there, and also circle back to
yeah.
Laura.
Brunch. What? Sorry.
Oh, that's coming. But so, Laura, you're a Cancer.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you're not the first Cancer that we have had here. However, I do believe that you're the first female Cancer. I remember that Thomas was a Cancer.
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, would there be any sort of fundamental characteristics in regards to that?
I mean, both of these humans are doing a lot of work in, the mental health, alcohol, and libations world. So I think that it only goes to show that cancers are down for causes.
Love that.
However, it takes a long time for them to find a specific cause because they care about everything.
oh my God!
well-
Like, look, like, hello, hi, my name is
Yeah.
Laura Louise Green.
And me.
Learning to say no is a technique
Yes.
that
Yes.
you have to level up to in Cancerland. Taking that back. We're taking back Cancerland. There has to be a better term. If anyone has one, please hit us up at connect@termsofservice.media. Thank
Yes.
you.
No, but that's so real because, I'm on the internet and I see the Cancer memes of like big crying messes and grudges and all sorts of things.
Yeah, I just see that Cancers are like mad emotional, and I have a cousin that's
So
a Cancer,
emotional.
and she stays in her emotion,
You
but
know,
she's wonderful.
I think it's I mean, in my work as a mental health professional and therapist, I'm also quite convinced that everyone has this level of emotion.
Yes.
But the cancer is in touch with it and friendly with it. And we hope to be able to become so friendly with it that we have boundaries around it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where
The level ups. Those are level ups.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's beautiful.
But I'm also a Virgo rising.
Ooh!
So
Same.
So it helps. So those boundaries, so what happens then is I'm like, oh my God, feelings, so many feelings. And I start picking through them and categorize them and studying them and exploring them.
Yes.
And that's
helpful.
You know, the older I get and the more I live with myself, the more I find that is so deeply true. And I find it in areas of my life that I wasn't expecting it.
Do you know your moon, though?
Okay, wait. I just looked this up because my therapist asked.
Yes.
I love my therapist, by the way.
I love my I have to get a new therapist, y'all. She's leaving me. She's leaving my ass.
Oh,
but
bummer.
It's okay.
Bummer.
Congratulations.
That's a thing.
She got promoted.
Congrats.
I think I'm an Aries moon.
Okay. Everything about you
I think
makes
that's what
a
it
lot
is.
more sense because
Which I don't
Virgo-
understand as much.
So, okay, let me
about to read
you
it
could
close
down.
your eyes. Let's take a journey.
That's the real reason why. I'm
When you're just like,
You're like, I'm actually just here so I can get my cards. Read. So yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So
oh, I
let me-
haven't even brought my cards here, y'all.
Okay, well,
I got
you know,
decks.
Okay.
But like multiple decks, but
Decks on decks on decks. Yes.
so when you're like having a thought, does the idea of like rage just like touch it, even if it's a good thought, you're like a little bit upset about it, like a passion that you just really want to explore, but your Virgo rising might be like, is this appropriate, and put it in a
Ooh.
side box.
So I just wrote a personal statement for a doctoral program that I may or may not be attending. And I literally
dope.
described, I mean, fingers crossed. It might happen, it might not.
Fingers crossed over here.
We're
I
manifesting
need to,
shit. It's not gonna happen.
but I also need to decide if I'm accepted if I go this year.
I also,
know.
yeah.
So I figured
Real.
That's
my
big
stuff
Aries
in.
vibes right there.
it might be a no.
Because we only do things that we're confident we can win at.
Goodbye.
That's a big Aries
I
vibe.
have gotten better at taking risks and being scared and living within that fear, you know, because
That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And it's
I don't like it. It makes me feel gross, but I'm doing it.
a year ago, it made me feel gross and scared. But now I'm like, okay, like take my hand and let's go because you are
go.
telling me something.
Yes.
You are telling me something
And I
that
need to
I
know
need
what
to
it
pay
is.
attention.
Yes.
And now I need to start like,
Well, I don't know if that's
know.
your Aries part or your Virgo
That's
part,
part-
but
yes,
that's where
yeah.
I'm at. That's where
Yeah.
I'm at. I just need to know and be like present for what's happening, and I need other people to be held accountable in that same time. Because before I'd just be like, oh, I'm gonna like go about my life and do whatever, and you know, be mad about it. But now I'm like, oh, you fucking me over? Well, we're gonna sit in this together, and you're gonna tell me why this is happening.
Let 'em
Because
know.
I don't deserve to sit in my shit when it's yours. You know what I mean?
I can.
There's no room in that shit.
And that's the last
No.
year of my life. And people
Yeah.
are like, why are you doing these things? And I'm like, I don't know, but it feels right.
It feels, and it definitely feels better than what was happening before.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
I think my last relationship, I was trying to do that. Like, sit with me in this. Like, this sucks. You suck.
And you're why
I'm
we're here.
hurt. Let's sit in this together. And I also had to make that decision to say, I don't think you're willing to sit with me in this. So I need to go do this work. And, you know, I think it's a lesson for me. And, you know, I'm certain people will identify with this, especially now, of like, you caused the harm. But now it is my responsibility to address it within me.
Damn. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're gonna dive deep.
Yeah, I was
deep
gonna say
in-
that's
into
like
that.
the
Yeah.
like taking that into work life.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And putting up like realizing those boundaries and putting that up and like advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the mental health that we need.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess when I first started doing this work in mental health, I bartended for years, and then I was like, I'm going to go be a therapist because I'm tired of this. I can't live my life like this.
How long were you in the industry? Can you talk to us about
your
background?
For sure. My very first job was at Little Tokyo in the south suburbs in Hoboken, Illinois, where I got yelled at a lot. For 4 days.
I've not even heard of that part of Illinois before.
Yeah, the south suburbs. Ho Flo is home with Flossmoor.
Oh,
wow.
I've seen that on a map.
Wow.
Do they identify with being Chicagoans?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Depends on who you talk to, but yeah.
Wonderful.
Ho Flo.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that. I moved to the city to study musical theater because I was going to be a star. And
you are a star, baby.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think, but you know what?
Manifest that
I
shit.
kind of make fun of that a lot, and I do. Oh, I should say I used to make fun of 18-year-old Laura a lot, but now I hold her close.
Oh,
Because she's an angel and she's doing her best.
See,
Yeah.
that's the mental health professional in you, because my therapist is like, what would you say to your 18-year-old self? And I'm like, you're a stupid bitch.
Yeah. Oh, no,
I
for
like
real, though.
love you and I've accepted that you're part of me, but I have
Stop
nothing nice
spending
to
your
say
money.
to you.
Open up a savings account. Okay, let's try. Let's start there. Really, really quickly. Just with, you mentioned music and all of that. So I was connected with a gentleman. I was connected with a gentleman from my high school sociology teacher. Shout out to Mr. Lazar.
Dan, the man.
Yes. And I was connected to Dan Mason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so you randomly came up in conversation.
Oh God.
And I was like, I'm low-key obsessed with this woman. And he's like, oh, she's great. Like, when we worked together, she was like super into like the music scene and like all of that. And so as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, Dan gave me a little preview of that.
Dan
but like
gives me too much credit.
It was a 2-sentence preview that was glorious.
So yeah, okay. Yeah. So
I can't say thank you because Aries moon. It's fine. I'm there. I get it.
Well, I mean, gosh, that was such a weird time in my life. So before I go into these next pieces of like my weird journey, when I was in graduate school studying to become a counselor, we had to take career counseling classes. And one theory is called career chaos theory. And I remember being like, well, that's me. Like my lower back sweating so much because I was like, when you read about yourself, I was like, oh man.
You're like, who's telling me about myself right now?
A little
I just
bit.
throw the book out.
A little bit.
You're like, we're done over here.
Yeah, I don't need you for this class.
So I was studying theater. I got a job at the American Girl Place as a busser.
Oh
Wait.
my
Yeah.
God.
Wait, the dolls?
Like in the tea room?
With the dolls.
Did you work in the
wait.
tea room?
They have
did.
food there?
Yes,
They
they have
do.
tea time. Tea parties.
I never knew that.
I've never had an
But
American
like full,
Girl.
it was
but
full. I didn't either. And I was actually, I'm sorry, just going to say this. I didn't like any of the girls who had American Girl dolls.
Oh,
Like,
well, so...
you know, on the other hand, by the time I started working there, because I was desperate, I'm so good, but I was
Speak your truth. Speak
I
your
was
truth.
17. I needed a job. I went to my dad was like, go to this open,
Open call?
yeah, if you will. And they were like, you'd be a great busser. You have experience 4 days at Little Tokyo. And like, so they hired me on as a busser. And part of the training was to learn about all the dolls and all the stories. But you know what? Those stories are quite lovely.
yes, the stories are great.
But I think
anything
it was
with
also
those
a class issue in a lot of ways where I grew up.
110%.
Like growing up in the south suburbs, it was pretty much diverse in every way that you can find levels of diversity, right?
Yeah.
Socioeconomically, racially, religion, all of it.
Is Homewood near Country Club Hills?
Yeah.
I used to live in Country Club Hills, and we moved just due to a lot of reasons, but specifically when you have that. I mean, when you just have so many different like walks of life and just ethnicities and all, I was very young when we moved, but I remember specifically there was just like an eruption of just disturbance. And I loved living out there, to be quite honest. And I was bummed when we moved because we moved to a predominantly, Caucasian-centric area, which is always deemed to be safer. But yeah, so it's like, because when you were talking, I was like, Homeward. I was like, I feel like it's like Tinley Park.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So,
Yes.
Yeah, go on. So sorry.
So let's see. I was an American Girl play.
The stories.
Oh,
classic
and
stories.
not to hate on them either, because my sister had a Molly doll. But then again, my sister had a Molly doll because she was fascinated by that era. It wasn't for her like
I don't
a
know
status
anything
thing.
about these dolls. I just would
They're, like,
see the
different
red
stories.
boxes, and I was just like, oh,
it
someone's
is
got
different.
money.
Like
So
it used to. Okay, here we go. Back in my brain, Pleasant Rowland started. What is it called? American Girl dolls, and then she wrote all of these stories about 9-year-old girls from different eras, and because she saw Barbie and was like, oh hell no.
Oh,
Okay. So then in like, I don't know, 1997 or something like that, Mattel bought it.
Yes.
And that's
So
when
that
it
became
shifted.
Barbie?
It became little baby Barbie.
little baby Barbie. Okay.
Yeah. And, not to say that any of the stories aren't worthwhile or that there are elements of empowerment, but honestly, even in that time, they were launching, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I'm talking about this, but they were launching.
This is a safe space.
Thanks.
Of course.
They were launching this website for the little girls to essentially have their own social network, but it was just,
I do remember this.
it was just essentially a front so that their parents could see what kind of toys they wanted.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything, it was a fine line between empowerment and marketing.
Yeah.
And I remember when they were introducing it to us, and I'm sitting there in my little like pink apron and black and white polka dot tie. And they were like,
Sounds like a mood.
so they like showed this profile for this little girl who liked Addie, and her favorite sport was basketball and her favorite food was fried chicken. And I was just like, oh. And 19-year-old white me was like, I'm uncomfortable with that, but the room erupted, and I was like, okay, yep, instincts were right. That was bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I quit.
Wow.
I was like, bye. I'm not
yeah.
doing that.
I was more of a Cabbage Patch doll / Polly Pocket bitch.
You said
will.
Cabbage Patch, and I was like, Garbage Pail Kids?
I
Oh,
loved
I was
Garbage
just
Pail
like,
Kids.
oh my God. I was
Stickers,
like-
my brothers
Yeah.
collected
I was like,
them.
I don't know much about the
Yeah.
Cabbage Patch dolls, but I can go ahead and rock out the Cabbage Patch
Trolls-
dance move.
trolls were
let me make
big.
that really
Trolls
clear.
were big.
Trolls were big within our households, but they
Yeah.
didn't have stories like the American Girls did.
Yeah.
They were just trolls. But that's like, so that was your segue into more industry work.
More industry work, but I will say all the people that I worked with had tremendous patience and were really, really lovely. I can say what I want about Mattel or whatever, but gosh, everybody that I worked with was just, they were just so great. They were just so great.
That's the trap of the
It is
industry.
the trap.
Yeah.
You want to be there with all of your people, but like, at what cost?
Well, and I also feel like, because we've been doing this for a while now, Nuriba
Oh shit.
and Max,
Yeah.
it's interesting because what I've realized that it's less about the industry of hospitality, but more so like the environment of hospitality.
Yeah.
And just because it may be retail forward does not mean that it's not hospitable.
Exactly.
And I think that needs to be said, because a lot of people were just like, oh, well, I mean, like, I do X, Y, and Z, and like, that's not hospitality. And just like,
Customer service is hospitality.
Yeah.
I'm
like,
yeah.
hospitality is an overarching, very wide net of experiences and environments. And because it's so pliable, it can be literally placed almost upon anything.
Yeah, and to that, I'll say that Healthy Poor is definitely was started in mind with the hospitality specific bars, restaurants, hotels, drinks, whatever in mind.
Yeah.
But it can also include theater and music
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
retail
absolutely.
and so I mean I guess that's the segue into
Yeah. What is Healthy Poor?
So Healthy Poor started as a catch-all for the work that I was doing. Honestly, like, I just didn't want a website that said lauralouisegreen.com. Like, that made me want to.
I love your name.
Yeah, your name is bomb.
It's like it's a statement piece for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
you better wear that with pride.
Your confidence in your name as well, Justin.
Oh,
like, whenever
mine?
I see it down, like.
Are you talking about Justin Everett Arnett Graham?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about?
Yes.
That's a good name. That's
I'm
a
just
good
like,
name.
y'all are out here
Thank you.
doing the whole thing, and I'm just like trying to get people
Thank
to
you.
say Nariba. You know? I'm trying to get to that level of confidence. Like, Nariba. I don't know if I damn. Can't even say it. But yes. I guess I should. Nariba Irma Bernadette Shepherd.
See, that's
Oh,
beautiful.
that is beautiful. You know, that reminds me. Yes.
I fucks with it now, but
Yeah.
as a kid, I was like, no.
Yeah.
This
That
is too
reminds
many.
me, and this is not a read. This is a full-on compliment. It reminds me of my grandmother. Rest in peace. Her name was Lowenstein Blue.
What? That's an amazing name.
It's just like it's the conjuring of emotion
Yeah.
when you say it all together, and that's just what I got from you, Nurita. So yes, so thank you.
Thank you. With your name confidences.
No,
Well, I think my name anxiety is a little bit of a hangover from working in theater and music and being the center of attention. And I didn't want that anymore because
and you used your full name.
No,
Or did
I think I just went by Laura Green, and then I got married, and then there was a different name associated with that. And then I changed it back. You know, so I think it was also probably a lot of identity work as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just didn't want to be the center of attention anymore. So actually, when I started okay, so wait,
Yeah.
Dan Mason. So I graduated from undergrad in musical theater. I got an agent. I started working, and I started then working at Elephant and Castle, where I met Dan Mason, who gives me too much credit because he says I was
Spot
a good
downtown,
server.
right?
And
Yes.
Yeah.
he said
know
I was
her.
a good server, and I was not a good server. I remember someone being like, "What kind of beer do you like?" And I was like, "I don't like beer."
Yes.
Well, let me say that really
As
quickly.
I sip my alcoholic beer.
Yes.
I worked at Half Acre Beer Company. Shout out to Half Acre. And
So did Max.
this is how we met.
Yeah.
That's exactly how we met. Yes. And I just wasn't feeling my best. And I was like, and my doctor at the time was just like, oh, I mean, you know, it's like, how much beer do you drink? And I was like, not a lot, but I mean, when I'm there, it just kind of flows like water. So I'm just like, I don't know. And I stopped drinking beer for a year while working there. And people would be like, oh yeah, like talk to me about this. And I'm just like, you know, I'm just going to talk to you like the same way that the menu's talking to you about what it tastes like. So yeah, it's fine. It's just like, it's an IPA, it's pine, it's hops, and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But I can pour you a taste. It's great.
You can talk about what it tastes like without having drank it or enjoy it. But I was like,
absolutely.
I don't like it. I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Literally, as you guys were talking, I was like, and that was me at Zoomies selling skateboards and putting them together, never having ridden a skateboard in my life because it has no walls and it will not protect me, and I know how gravity works.
Okay, and that is very
right.
that is very real. Also, I do want to give a shout out to all of those in different areas of the hospitality experience that literally do not endorse the things that they are, you know, put behind, but they do so with grace.
Yes.
Because that is absolutely amazing. I know this
is.
wonderful, wonderful woman who can't stand seafood at all. And she's just like, all I do is sell seafood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the best thing that I have ever heard.
That's
And
where the
like, well,
money's
talk
at.
to me about it. And she's like, the way that I've navigated it is literally being like, what I don't like about it, I highlight it because I know that they'll love it.
Yes.
Oh, check that out. Fascinating.
Right. Ooh. Yeah. Right.
My favorite was like giving tasting notes to people who have seafood allergies because they're the only people taking notes for seafood dishes. Everyone else is like, it'll basically sell itself, but they're like, I ain't never taste this. I will never taste it. I don't know her, but I sell it. And I find that the people with allergies tend to push those things more and sell them more.
Yeah.
Take it till you make it, 2021.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. So I want to keep hearing about this. You know, you said that it was like an odd journey or weird journey in this space. I personally believe that like everything is just like a journey, period.
Oh, I feel that. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's like, yeah, we want to hear about all of it.
So
how'd you get to healthy pour?
Yeah, so was working in theater, working at Elephant and Castle. I joined a rock band called, oh my God, I'm going to say it out loud.
Was it called A Rock the Casbah?
No.
Damn. Lost opportunity. It's okay.
It was called I Fight Dragons. And yeah, and it was this nerdcore rock band. Oh boy.
Did they emerge into Imagine Dragons?
No,
Oh
but
my
they
God.
came out a few months after we signed to Atlantic Records.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think I got my timeline right, but we were like, that's not us, you know. But we played Nintendo. My role in the band was to sing harmonies and play Nintendo controllers. So what we did is we hooked up Nintendo controllers to a MIDI controller. We played a MIDI, so like I would hit select and it would go ba-da-ba-da or whatever.
Yeah.
So we programmed it
This
from
is so
Game
exciting.
Boys. Yeah, it was a weird time in my life. I ended up leaving theater because that was working. I started touring, but I had a bad time. And it was this weird, you've been talking a lot about cognitive dissonance on the podcast.
Yes.
It was a cognitive dissonance moment because I was like, my dreams are coming true, but I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And like the sexism, I was the only woman on tour for our first tour, one of two women on tour for the second tour. It was just, I mean, the whole sexism of the entire music industry was so gross.
She big. Yeah.
And so was in theater too. There were problems in theater too. And so then
So you're
naturally,
just getting it on all sides.
all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place.
And
Yeah,
so
it's ridiculous.
I quit the band. I was asked to leave the band in a fiery ball of flame. But it's interpersonal stuff and some like, you know, things that went down relationally, but it was unfair and it was gross and it was wrong,
Yeah.
to be very clear. It was, I think, something that could have been repaired. But you know, no one who's good at conflict.
Well,
You know, like-
one
I'll
you
tell you
have
some
to
shit after.
choose. You have to choose to engage in conflict.
Exactly.
But then also you have to choose to solve said conflict.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think conflict is the best thing ever because from conflict is born creativity
Yeah.
and repairing and healing. And so, but we didn't do that. I
I was gonna say
You're
I
like,
like
that did
hear you,
not happen.
but like it's
That
I'm
didn't
still
happen.
learning.
So that was 2010, and I posted on Facebook that I needed a job, and my buddy was like, "We're looking for bartenders," and I was like, "Absolutely fucking not." Oh no, like, you know, I was like anything but that. But I decided, he's like, just come and meet with us, and I did, and it was a craft cocktail bar, fresh juices, craft spirits, and I was hooked. But I also found so many ways to express myself creatively. Like it was still very much like an ensemble work, the same way that working in theater or a band was. And I definitely found a home in it. And everyone around me was so wonderfully supportive, you know. And as I was going through my big emotions from leaving the band and the fallout of that and end of my marriage, and it was just a lot, the hospitality industry was there to catch me, usually with a shot of overproof rum and like, but they were there to catch me, and I had a lot of support there. And I was like, cool, this is it. Fast forward a few years, you know, I kind of was bar hopping a little bit like you do, and I was at the JW Marriott at that time, and
Michigan Avenue, yeah?
no, on Adams Street. It's like the financial district.
Okay. Is there a JW Marriott on Michigan Michigan? Or am I
There's
crazy?
the mag mile.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, yep. All right.
Also, when you said financial district, I was like, where?
It was like downtown.
I was like, the whole thing. Okay.
In the loop
In the loop, yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
Surrounded by the L.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the island heard.
So I had this moment that we were going out every night. We would go to Miller's Pub. It would be like, I would spend so much money, and then Uber wasn't a thing yet. So I would take a cab home, and I realized that I not only was spending my entire paycheck, but I was waking up at 2:00 for a 4:00 shift and
Yep.
spending my
Yep.
time only in bars.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was a shocking realization and sad realization. And I was like, I got to figure out. I just couldn't picture a life for me in this work that extended beyond 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, I don't know how either I leave or I'm not going to make it to 40. Like, that's really the
Right.
realization that I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back to school to be a therapist because I was like, I'm tired of performing. I'm tired of performing behind the bar. I'm just
That's
over it.
extremely real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point I didn't have the language of talking about emotional labor and, you know, stuff like that. But I decided to go back to school, became a therapist while my career in beverage was sort of like, I wouldn't say taking off because I pumped the brakes pretty hard.
But that's always how it happens. It's like you think it like introduces you to maybe this could be a thing for
Yes.
you, and then you have to choose like, well, this is looking really good, blah blah blah, or do I like do this other thing that could be really good for me? But it's that could, which is why I'm like,
it becomes tethering.
yeah,
It was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So by my last year, I mean, I will say it was really cool to be in the industry, learning about all of this stuff. And I think this was a coping mechanism for myself that I so deeply compartmentalized them that it wasn't until my last year that I was like, oh shit. Oh, and I start like connecting dots and seeing things. And
You had like the inverse of me because I walked into the industry with all that information,
just
and I was
thinking
just
about
like,
that. I was
I'm
just
using it. I'm
thinking
using
about
it. I'm using it. This is
Yes.
how I can communicate
Right.
with you. But at the end of it, like last year when the world was like, I did the same thing had happened where like everything was coming up me, even though I left my executive chef job. It was like all these award things were happening and like these articles started coming out about me, but I was no longer in a kitchen. And like after my 65 days of doing nothing and before I like went back into the world, I was like, oh, I'll look into going back to school for my master's in therapy because I'm like, I can't know what I know and go back there.
that's so real though.
Like,
you
I know too much.
You can't put the glove back on.
No, I can't.
know.
Like,
You felt it and you're like, nope, I can't put that back. I can't cover it up again.
and I have friends who are like going back to work and then they are like, I can't do this. Like, it's literally like, I cannot do this. And I think that if we listened to the why of why we're feeling that way.
That's what's up right
It's
there.
like-
it's always why.
Yeah.
And once you keep asking why, like you're going to uncover so much. And that's why things like curiosity are so important. Like being curious and compassionate with yourself while you are, you know, and uncovering those whys. You know, and then you can start making decisions. Like when I decided to not be a practicing therapist, because I don't practice, like I haven't seen clients since 2017. I should take that back. I don't practice in the conventional sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, you know, once you have your degree, that's yours. You know, you can do with it what you want, and whether or not you use it or not is up to you and how you frame whatever. You know, I still teach obviously about mental health. I create interventions for the community, but I'm just not sitting in an office
Right.
with somebody, you know?
Yeah.
Excuse me. In the same way. But I had to have a solid sit down with myself to be like, all right, Green, are you are you going to do this work with hospitality because you can't leave the industry because you like this lifestyle?
That's real. That's real.
Well,
Or is this what you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
right.
It was hard.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's very specific to me, right? Like I've thought long and hard about just my connection to the industry and also the connections that I have amongst the industry, and after a while, it just starts feeling like, God damn it, Mariba. No, I was in the middle of a fucking moment. But
it was Max.
Right, I was just like,
was
okay,
Max.
it's fun. I was like,
couldn't
this is
not-
God, this
Sorry.
Like the mics are too good.
Damn it.
The mics are too good. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and edit that out. So that's fine. That's fine. We're not gonna edit this out though. Wow.
Thanks, Athletic Brewing, for your golden ale slaps.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
But you were saying that your connection to the industry.
Yeah, and so very specifically, a couple weeks ago, a gentleman that I used to work with, he sent me a message, and he's outside of the industry now, and he's like, I'm really considering going back into it. And one of the first things that I said to him, I was like, what would your connection to the industry be? And it can always feel like, you know, there's like the notoriety and there's all like, just like, you know, it feels like a whole bunch of fluff fucking bullshit. But it's like, what connects you as the individual to this institutionalized industry?
Yeah.
And he's like, I never thought of it that way. And as I asked him that, I realized that I was asking myself that exact same question.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know, like I'm always down to, like, you know, help
around and find out, yeah.
then fuck around and find out exactly. But I don't know, like, I have found a level of success, but I've also found a level of comfortability for myself through the industry to where it becomes less of a job that you're performing, but more so of a lifestyle that you're committed to.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it was also like, I told my supervisor at the time, I was like, I'm struggling with leaving something that I have a level of expertise in to be novice. And so that was a lot to unpack. But I think it's a forever unpacking. You know, I'm talking about going to get my doctorate, and I have feelings about that. Like, but why?
But why?
You know, is it because I want someone to call me doctor? Or is it because I think that going to get my doctorate will help the work that I'm doing? And I think it's, what's the second one? Is it ladder, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the latter. Yeah. You're fine. Yeah.
I'm talking
But
about
it is not.
getting
But
my-
it is not the corporate ladder.
It is not the, you know,
No.
but you know,
It is the
there
latter
was-
of the two.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Your differentiation game is top notch.
It is.
Thank you.
but it was a lot to unpack. So that being said, I took a job with Winebow in distribution as a spirits educator.
Oh, I know her.
Yes.
Yeah.
She out here.
She out here.
And
Yeah.
I felt good about that because, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I think I needed some incubation time to figure
Okay.
out what I needed.
Yeah.
I framed it then as like, well, the industry's not ready for what I have to say, which was also probably true, but
Yeah.
denying that other piece that I wasn't ready to. Like, I remember I was giving a seminar and there was a slide about, this would have been 2018 or 2019. There was a slide about why the hospitality industry has such trouble. And the first thing I wrote was like the dehumanization and exploitation of workers. And I stared at that slide for probably a half hour being like,
Cognitive dissonance.
well, yeah, but it was also like, what is this going to do to people to illuminate that
Yeah.
for themselves? Is that harmful?
So I think that it's 50-50, but I also think that a lot of our like growth and understanding of harm is changing
Yeah.
because we're trying to figure out how not to like harm or push someone else over the edge. But in order for people to educate themselves, sometimes they have to learn their harmful behaviors.
Yes.
And that putting that mirror in front of people feels to us as the person teaching, like, are we doing harm?
You know, and what I've arrived at with that of like, in terms of educating, what am I sharing? What am I talking about? You know, might this open some wounds? Is that if I'm going to open some wounds, I need to have a container for people.
Exactly. Yes.
And so,
Absolutely.
So that's how I really approach my work now is we're going to talk about this. I like, you know, I have a pretty strong rule that I'm like, I don't want to hear what happened to give you this trauma. I don't want to hear the nitty gritty, and I don't want you to tell me. But I think we can acknowledge that it's there, and let's create a vessel for it, and let's figure out how we can start to heal it and patch it up.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just like coming in being like spewing my own trauma and asking other people to relive theirs and then just walk away thinking we've done the work.
Exactly.
You know, because that's not the work. That's just, I mean, that becomes violent.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't
Damn.
do that. But it took a long time to figure out how to do that ethically, how to do that responsibly.
Right.
You know, what language to use, not to be so fucking clinical all the time.
Yeah.
You know, to turn off therapist Laura sometimes and be
But
real
can
Laura.
you though?
I think no. Well, I've started wearing colors that aren't like green, black, and gray. So
I
we
mean,
should talk off air. Yeah, we should
you're
talk.
trying to like I'm wearing like green and whatever. But
I
like,
love what you're
it's
wearing.
a whole
I
vibe.
literally just
Whole
had a
vibe.
conversation about
moo-moo.
Moo and Calf Gut season coming up all day.
Max
All day.
loves that.
Yeah, it's not. Everyone's like hot girl summer and hot boy summer, and I'm like moo moo.
Well, there was
summer.
like a whole thing going on about like white boy summer, which sounds like a threat
I saw
to me.
that
So,
thing.
It was,
personally.
isn't that Tom Hanks' son?
Yeah.
Yes, and we're not even going to put his name out there because
Speaking
we're not gonna
of
do that.
cognitive
We're not gonna do that.
dissonance,
Okay, am I right?
Absolutely.
how do those? How?
I on this note specifically,
Yes.
I did see a tweet that said that son specifically of Tom Hanks was created as a marketing test to see how much people would tolerate Tom Hanks. Specifically, because they're like, well,
That has totally reframed the entire situation for me. And
Damn.
as a researcher, I'm like, oh, how are they measuring that?
Listen, I am with you on that. That's how I watched all of the seasons of Bad Girls Club that they released on Hulu because I needed to know what is a bad girl. Still can't tell you. Watched all 4 seasons. Couldn't. Like, who is supposed to be helping them learn what? It's a whole thing. But my inner researcher is like in it. Like the things that I Google. First of all, I started Googling in incognito so that I wouldn't be reminded of the things that I've Googled.
Oh yeah, when it comes up to bite you, you're like, oh hi Facebook.
Yeah,
Thank you
no.
for that.
No.
Oh thanks.
But like,
I thought that you said that you were Googling the term incognito.
I should Google it incognito though, and be like,
It's meta.
Yeah, I was like, oh. And then as you kept speaking, I was like, oh. Silly me. Sorry.
I can't even remember where
I'm-
was with that. It's fine. No, I mean, it's fine. We can just keep going with something else.
No, it's all good. I wanted to ask about a few specifics.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
the conversation of mental health is evolving. It's elevating. However, mental health is such a, pardon me if I'm, being insensitive to how I'm expressing this. However, mental health can feel like such a blanket statement, right?
is, yeah.
And so we're looking at specifics that, because when I think of mental health, I think of physical health, I think of financial wellness.
Yep.
I think of things like that contribute to your overall mental wellness. And can you speak a bit about the work that you're doing within like the certain sectors of mental health?
Yeah.
Or just so that people understand that mental health isn't just this like esoteric term. it's literally just like the things that you face and deal with every single day, and how to kind of, to acknowledge that, so therefore they know, like, this is something that contributes to my mental health, which everything does, but.
And because everything is mental health. Like, I mean, I do go through kind of talking about what we were saying with my signs earlier about how like something will hit and then it's like, where do I even go first?
Where did this come from?
I go like, the only image I can really think of is like that meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia when Charlie Day's like looking at his like
chart.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of where my brain goes when we talk about what mental health. Is that from like
the Weird Cat episode?
No.
I don't even know.
One.
I started watching the show and then I was like, I'm going to waste my life watching this show.
Oh,
so
because it's fantastic.
Walk too damn loud. The
Kitten Mittens.
Yes, Kitten Mittens.
That is my jam.
It's a good episode.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's so my
Is
my
your
brain
cat
goes
too
wild.
loud?
Oh my god.
Sorry.
My cat's too loud. I have to apologize to my neighbors downstairs sometimes.
You need
'cause they're
kitten
like,
mittens.
up.
You need kitten mittens. If anyone's listening from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, feel free to reach us at connectedtermsofservice.media. Let's get our wonderful guest, Laura Louise Green, some fucking kitten mittens.
You damn right.
2 sets, please. Thanks.
Well played. Yes.
So you got Charlie Daymind.
Yeah, I have Charlie. I have like wild Charlie Daymind that I have to contain sometimes. Like, because mental health is everything. It's everything that we experience. It's what we perceive our experiences are.
Yeah.
It's
a full-time job.
It's a full-time job. And like, we create, since it is all based on our personal perception of what it is that we are experiencing, we can create what's called schemas of like this. You have like a filter over your life that maybe like a core belief is I'm unlovable or blah, 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 So there's all of that stuff, but then there's social issues that impose upon us like deterministic forces, like racism, sexism, politics, all of these like in the air capitalism. Those all impact our mental health, our decision-making processes, how we value ourselves. So then you also layer on top of that, like biology that happens in our brains. So talking about like people who experience major depressive disorder on a chemical level, or looking at schizophrenia. But then you can also look at like something like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or, autism. And then you say, okay, look at it on a social level. Is okay, here we go. We make these things diagnosable and problems, but it's actually a social determinant.
Yes.
Wow.
That because it's not quote, quote, normal, it's a problem. So we can take that kind of structure and start looking at other people's experiences under a normative umbrella, that if you don't fall into that normal, that like Eurocentric, white, Christian, hetero, anything that deviates that is abnormal. So
you just like hit me in my feelings.
It makes me so mad, because it's been a lot of unlearning for me and my degree and going through and being like, okay, so what is this really? Coming back to the why. Why do we say it like this? Who wrote this book? Who is this book for?
I really enjoy watching like YouTube videos of people who are living in these different like realities, realistically, because we all have our own reality. And like them talking about like, okay, this is my experience, this is how the world has shown us these things, and like trying to figure out the best parts of it and like focusing on what the positive things of this situation is. Like for me personally, I didn't understand bipolar specifically bipolar schizophrenia, because my nephew was diagnosed with it, but like people didn't understand, and I was the only person in my family who went to school for this sort of thing. And then I had to like look at my bias of it, because like it came into like he has to take these meds, but he doesn't want to take these meds because of X, Y, and Z, and like you know, the difference between living your life the way that the world thinks you should live it, and then understanding the reality of your situation, and like, you can't do this because of the chemicals in your brain, not because you don't want to. It's literally your body working against you, and you're trying to like, be like, how can we work together?
I feel like that's such a brilliant, I really feel like that's such a brilliant example of mental health. Because people try and quantify what mental health is based off of their interaction with someone that is mentally healthy, right? And the idea of, and I've used this example numerous times, and you know, when we talk about coping mechanisms for substance abuse and in the industry, you know, because substance abuse is a coping mechanism of being in the industry, not only the hospitality industry, but just in general, it is a coping mechanism. And so the example that I use quite often is I represent the front of house experience. I have never formally worked in the kitchen. I have helped out in the kitchen, so I'm only speaking from the front of house perspective. But a new young host, you know, they're just like, oh, this is great. You know, they're sprightly, they're ready to go. And, you know, ultimately one shift will happen to where it's just like, oh, we're all going to grab some drinks afterward. Do you want to come? And so when everyone is seated at the bar, you have this visual representation of dangerous coping mechanisms in the industry, because you have a young host, and then you have a, let's say, seasoned veteran within the industry, and it's like the young host is imbibing because like it's a fun thing to do and get to know your colleagues and coworkers. But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have an older individual to where it's just like it becomes medicinal for them.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So okay, so I'm gonna go into that a little bit more and start talking a little bit about the power dynamics of restaurants and how that impacts our behavior. Because if you have a young host coming in and is brought into the group, so accepted into the group in a fearful moment, like we're accepting you into our little grouping, and start buying shots. Like maybe this young host had not been accustomed to that kind of behavior and is like, okay, I want to be accepted in this group, which is a natural human thing, by the way. Like I'm not trying to like be like, don't be like that. It's natural to want to be accepted in the group. Yeah. So then you also have these people who are veterans exacting their power over this young person, likely in a way to cope with the power that's exacted over them in other circumstances. So so to answer your question about what I do in terms of mental health, I would say that I study I work within organizational structures and community structures to understand why communities behave the way that they do and how that impacts the individual, and then further how the individual can impact the community from both a problematic standpoint of like, you know, harm and pain and suffering and whatever, but also from a strengths-based standpoint, because this industry has so much strength.
I feel like I want to work for you. I'm literally sitting here and I'm like, how do I work for you though? Because you're saying the things that like I think about all the time, and I think, and like I want this change to happen, but it's hard because one, I like don't think I should be in charge of anyone, which is why I did not go for my master's in therapy. I was like, no. But two, like I think that if people could see that they could still be part of the food service industry and not feel beholden to like the tips and tricks of the trade in a sense, it could like people could last longer. Like I had to look at myself and like look at the times that I've sort of like done that with other like people, like with my line cooks and shit. Like if I'm outside and I'm smoking a spliff and I was like, oh, do you guys want to like smoke some weed or some shit? And they're like, no. I used to like make a joke about like, oh, whatever. And now in retrospect, I'm like terrified and I want to like find these baby line cooks and be like, I am sorry. But that's like, it's when you step out of yourself and you like look at the things that you've done and like the things that you're saying, you realize that it's like I said, the cognitive dissonance of like living this lifestyle because I'm like achieving these goals, but I am like unapologetically like depressed and unhappy and like can't be there. Yeah. And people just think that's the personality.
Yeah, it's like it's like the cost of entry.
Yeah.
And it's like the most stressful time in my hospitality career was when I was a part of a Michelin level environment. And there were many things that I was exposed to. There were many things that were, said and shared that are just wildly inappropriate. But it's like, did I make allowances? Because I'm just like, well, this is like, I was like, I guess that's what it is on this level. And, I constantly have to go back and, kind of reevaluate those moments and be like, that was bullshit. I did things that like are uncharacteristic of myself. I have partaken in certain things that I simply do not do just because it's it's the thing. And one thing that we have talked about before, if I recall, but I'm just going to bring it up in case, it's the idea of when hospitality leadership and hospitality ownership promote this idea of family, right? Because and it's just like on one side of the coin, I completely understand like where they're going at from that, but also it's such like a manipulative term.
It's so manipulative
because it's like you would do the things here that you would do for your own family, and it's ingrained subconsciously within you, so therefore that they always win. So, and I don't know if they know that, or maybe they do because they know.
Yeah, so. I think this whole episode is a trigger warning, but what I'm about to say is definitely a trigger warning. I am also like a walking trigger warning.
Yeah, same. I feel like I should just do that.
I had someone say to me like, oh, Laura, when you come around, I have to like prepare myself because I know we're going to talk deep. And I'm like, what?
Hard truths. You just think you're having a conversation.
I think I'm just having a conversation.
Same. I'm just trying to chat.
I'm just trying to chat.
I'm just so accustomed to it. But it's okay. I guess this is kind of to give you an insight into where my work is now. It has to do with that family manipulative structure because y'all know what codependency is? Okay. Yes. So codependency, if you're listening at home as you're doing your dishes like I usually do, codependency is when you find yourself engaged in a relationship with something or someone, be it a family unit, a partner, a job, where you will essentially put your needs at the very bottom of your ladder and your worth starts to become attached to how someone else values you.
Yep.
Yes. So codependency is usually born from, some kind of developmental trauma, usually parents of alcoholics, other forms of trauma, social trauma will do this even in adulthood. Working in the brigade system will create codependent traits.
It's, in my opinion, I feel like it was literally created for that reason.
That's exactly right. So that you would do anything for the brigade, for the, So if we have an entire, I will also say that, mad trigger warning, y'all, that trauma can also breed narcissistic traits.
Yeah.
Not saying narcissism like narcissistic personality disorder, but like when people become like the kind of thing that when people become stressed and overly stressed, narcissistic traits will emerge.
Yes.
And then subside when they're not as stressed, right?
We talked about this. I talked about it in the conversation on Wednesday about like
with the James Beard Foundation.
Shout out.
Yeah, hosted by Not 9 to 5. Thank you once again, Hassel. Thank you.
Just talking about like when I looked my girlfriend at the time in the eyes and said, maybe you don't hate yourself enough.
Oh my God. I was like jumping up and down in my seat.
In fine dining, essentially. Like, and I didn't even like think about it twice because it came from a feeling of I wake up every day at 4 a.m. to go into work at 6 because a white man said I cannot work breakfast and lunch. It's too much. It can't be done. And I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then I did that, and I would work until 5 o'clock in the afternoon and then wait for her to get out of work and come in and then like listen to her complain about the same shit every day. And I was like, you don't hate yourself because I'm doing 10 times the amount of work that you're doing. And that's when I was like, narcissism. I have those traits.
Yeah, and I think to a degree, because narcissism is also a spectrum, but when you have a question that I get a lot is, are people drawn to this industry? Does it attract a certain type? Okay. Does it attract a certain type of person, quote, 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 of person, or does it make people this way? And I think it's a very complex combination of that.
Yeah.
I think that certain individuals are more susceptible to staying.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really is the differentiating piece, that people are willing to stay and endure that kind of behavior, abuse, all of it.
But then therefore, we really start opening up, an angle in this conversation to where, it's, socioeconomics. It's, it's like all of
coming
that.
back to the power stuff, power over,
like,
and
all of that. And so I'm just obsessed with all of this. I just have a few more questions because we are wrapping up this episode, but this is just the first part of many. So we're truly just getting started. I know that we have said this in the past, but we're babies out here, so you'll be back.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
Because y'all say things when I listen to your podcast that I'm like, it either like affirms something that I've been exploring, and I'm like, oh, yes, that my thinking was right. Or I'd be like, Charlie Daying that shit of like, oh yeah, these things do match.
Yeah.
But this and this.
Right.
And so, yes.
Allowing more whys to happen.
Yeah.
Allowing more whys to happen, exactly. And Laura, I'm wondering, just with your advocacy and your passion within this space, how does that affect your mental health?
I have a really great therapist.
Yeah.
I put out a seminar. I'm gonna take a step back. It wasn't even a seminar. It's brutal. I'll just say that it's brutal because it's hard to be a part of something and witness it at the same time and know that it's wrong, but also engage in it and feel it. And when
it's like you can't put on your face. You can't save anyone if you don't put on your face mask, but your face mask is broken.
Yeah, and it's...
Is that the airplane thing?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay.
But it's, I have moments that I have to step away. Like, I stepped away from doing this work. I mean, I would still talk about... if someone asked me to be on something, I would still do something. But I stepped away because I was like, I need to work on me before I can really do this. And I've had a few moments like that. And that's the responsible, ethical thing to do, of like, if it's too deep, if it cuts too deep, or if I find sometimes if I start going down rabbit holes of my behavior and disguising it as I'm looking at the industry, that's an indication to take a breath. But at the same time, since I am a part of it, my experiences are absolutely valid. But I do have to take some steps back and be like, but not only my experience though. Yeah. Is this stuff that other people are experiencing or whatever? So in terms of how I manage that, taking steps back when I have to. I'm not very good at that though. I've gotten better.
You're in a safe space about that. Yeah. We're all there.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people are, and it's a constant, push and pull. Like I said, I have a really good therapist. I am very experimental with coping strategies too. Like I'll try something out, and if it doesn't work, I try something else. And the good thing is that one of my main coping strategies is problem solving. So again, it is a boundary of like, am I diving into this to cope? Is this becoming Am I hiding in my research?
That's a big one.
You know, and so then I have to pull myself out again. So like sometimes I will disappear from the internet for a little while, and it's, you know, it's mostly because I'm cocooning myself and I'm goo for a little while before I butterfly back again.
Yeah,
You know?
no, for
We
sure.
have to be gentle with ourselves.
That's right.
and it
Compassion.
takes a long time to get
Compassion
there.
is what's up. Compassion for ourselves, compassion for each other.
Yeah.
Like we can't move forward without compassion.
I mean, I don't know about that first part, but I know about that second part. I'm working on the first one though.
You talking about the latter?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Our vocabulary word for the day is latter.
The password is.
Yes. And so, as we wrap up here,
Mer.
yeah,
I know.
But
It's okay.
Nuiba, as I've said
know.
before, don't be upset that it's over.
I know.
Be glad that it happened.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Oh shit! I'm gonna use that in therapy on Tuesday.
boom.
Aw. Already.
There we go. Laura, what should people know about mental health, not only in the industry, but in general?
Oh boy.
That was like a real big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that if they're experiencing someone, it's likely that someone else is too. And you know,
so there's
that's
a level of empathy.
absolutely. And you know, we see all this stuff about like it's okay not to be okay, you're not alone, but like genuinely, if you
Yeah.
are experiencing it, you are a human being, so it's likely a very here we go.
Yeah.
What you are experiencing is likely a rational and normal response to what you have experienced in your life. I think so often we tell people that they are somehow wrong or bad or we moralize or dramatic. But like, for example, if you're experiencing like stuff like imposter syndrome,
Oh shit!
that is
my jam.
but so are you ready for this?
Yes.
Imposter syndrome is often framed as what you can do to, you know, to help to get rid of your imposter syndrome, to not feel that way. Yeah, it's not a you thing; it's an everything thing. Like when we talk about imposter syndrome, it's not the individual's problem.
No.
It is a very real reaction to working in an oppressive workspace. So if we take mental health and we say what you are, because often in mental health we'll be like an irrational response. Irrational to what?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably very rational. And it's not the person that's irrational. It's how we are treating them that's irrational and wrong.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I really want people to think about with their mental health. Now, that does not mean to not take accountability for what you're feeling, how you're behaving, and who you touch with your stuff. You know, that's a different thing. But to understand that in order to address and heal individuals, we have to address and heal what's happening around them as well.
Yes. I mean, I hear everything that you're saying, but my imposter syndrome is like, you can like pause on that for now. We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Oh, damn. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it's my
Thank you.
pleasure.
Yes. And Laura, how was your time with us?
Oh my God, it was so, I'm going to like call Hassel.
Yes.
Actually, I'm not going to because it's Sunday and she has children and we all have boundaries.
Okay.
Fair.
Got it.
Snaps.
I'm going to like schedule a text for Tuesday morning.
Okay. Perfect. Amazing. And so, how can people find you?
Oh,
and
yes.
Follow your work and engage with everything that you're all about.
For sure. So healthypoor.org is my website that's down right now because I'm relaunching. I'm doing Healthy Pour full time now. And I actually never said what Healthy Pour is.
Yeah.
Healthy Pour is a consultancy that I work with bars and restaurants. And I promise you, if you listen to this whole thing, my consulting is not this heavy.
Yeah.
What I do is take all of these really heavy things and put it into a lighthearted format so that people can listen and learn and grow from it. Like I don't come in talking about narcissism, but we might talk about compassion for a certain power dynamic. So blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Manager trainings, you know, how those quote soft, I hate calling it soft skills because they are the skills.
I was gonna say it sounds like you're trying to, or not trying, you're teaching adults empathy and sympathy.
Yeah.
When that's like what I'm trying to teach this 5-year-old at home to just like exist in the world. And a lot of us adults don't have empathy and sympathy in the food service industry because we just have to come in, do our job, and get her done, and like whatever else happens is camaraderie, but it's like very singular.
And it's also teaching people how to accept and love their entire selves and know why their entire selves are valuable within the spaces of hospitality, because we cannot continue operating as this monoculture disguised as multiculture, you know, so
it's insulated.
It is,
insulated situation.
Absolutely. And each one of us have so much to give, and Healthy Pour is so much about providing space for human beings to be able to accept themselves and then be leaders knowing themselves and make decisions so that you don't look back in 5 years and be like, I can't believe I tolerated that.
Yep.
Right.
You know, so like living authentically. So that's kind of like the overview, but I work from a very like, you know, scientific standpoint. I don't know. Call me because I just quit my job and so healthypour.org. You can find me on Instagram at healthy.pour. My personal Instagram is laura.louise.green, which is where you'll find I would say more in-depth talking about stuff like what we've talked today. Healthy Pour stuff is a little bit more buttoned up. You know, just because capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm a little speechless, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Everyone listening to this, take a walk or something, drink some water, maybe grab.
Don't forget to hydrate and moisturize.
Maybe grab
sure.
a piece of paper and write some thoughts down and just get it out of your head.
Yeah,
you know, because there's probably a lot. There's probably a lot happening in your dome right now.
Yeah, and you know, just with that, I mean, I want to thank our friends forever and always at Blind Barber for hosting this necessary conversation. Also, Athletic Brewing out in Connecticut. We love you. Thank you. I have been enjoying the Run Wild IPA during this conversation, and it's been delicious. You can't tell me that it's not a regular IPA.
Yeah,
okay?
fair.
And so also I want to shout out our producer, Max. So thank you so much, Max. Thank you. And again, this is Justin Everett Arnett Graham. You can find me on Instagram at whatsbeco, and I'm out.
And just before I go, I want to put a question in everyone's minds to think about. If you are a brunch person.
Okay, fine. No. Okay, but really quickly, you know, this is just the. You know,
but for real though, if you're
this is
a
the
brunch
extra
person,
credit. This is the extra credit on the episode.
Just think about it.
So, do you feel, for those in the industry, is working brunch as exciting as going to brunch? And I believe that we all know the answer here, because I personally believe working brunch is fucking terrible, but going to brunch is wildly exciting.
And this is the difference between me and y'all. I don't go to brunch because I don't want to do what people have done to me to them.
That is entirely fair. But
so
also,
fair.
what is the cutoff for brunch?
Brunch is any
Noon.
meal with
Oh no,
a
I think
drink.
it's like till 3.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
till 3 now, but I
Is
think
it
that
till
you can
3?
make your own brunch anywhere.
See, no, because I'm like a 2:00 in the afternoon sort of dude.
See, same.
And I'm not trying to get eggs at 2:00. Like, I'm just trying to see if I can still have
I'm about to blow
mimosa.
your mind.
A mimosa.
I don't even order things with eggs when I go to brunch.
Oh no,
I just want lunch and a drink.
An avid listener of ours, Shatara Walters. Hey girl, she loves an egg. She loves it. She will tell you all day. She's probably making eggs while listening to this episode, and she probably just dropped the pan because I just gave her a shout out on the podcast. So pick that pan up, girl. But anyhow, yeah, I don't really fuck with eggs like that. Like, I just want my mimosa, and I want my Corpse Reviver number 2.
Oh, yeah.
But once again, this is Justin Arnett Graham. You can find me again at What's Biko on Instagram. And take care of yourself, y'all, because we're trying to do the work on ourselves over here as well.
And my name is Nariba Shepherd. You can find me on Instagram at Rebaru, Rebaru. And jobless or jobless.
Peace.